Good morning, Dr. Delara. Good morning, classmates. I'm Romel Chanko, a professional agricultural and biosystems engineer. Today, I'll be presenting about the strategy implementation through organizational design and control. This topic covers the following topics shown on the screen. We have dimensions of the organizational structures, functional structures, project or market structures, project matrix structures. Let's start with the different dimensions of the organizational structures. Under the dimension of organizational structures, we have chain of command, span of control, centralization, specialization, formalization, and departmentalization. Let's start with chain of command. One of the most basic elements of an organizational structure, chain of command is exactly what it sounds like. An unbroken line of authority that extends from the top of the organization, say for example CEO, all the way down to the bottom. Chain of command clarifies who reports to whom within the organization. An example of chain of command is when an employee reports to a manager, who reports to a senior manager, who reports to the vice president, who reports to the CEO. And the CEO makes final decisions binding on everyone, followed by the vice president, and so on down the line. Next is the span of control. The span of control refers to the number of subordinates a superior can effectively manage. The higher the ratio of subordinates to superiors, the wider the span of control. As an example, a manager with 5 direct reports has a span of control of 5. Next is decentralization. Who makes the decision in an organization? If decision-making power is concentrated at a single point, the organizational structure is centralized. If the decision-making power is spread out, the structure is decentralized. While a centralized structure promotes a more democratic decision-making process, it can also slow down the decision-making process, making it harder for organizations to operate efficiently. Apple, as an example of a business with a centralized management structure. Within Apple, much of the decision-making responsibility lies with the CEO. Specialization, also known as the division of labor. Specialization is the degree to which activities or tasks in an organization are broken down and divided into individual jobs. Highly specialization can be beneficial for an organization as it allows employees to become masters in specific areas, increasing their productivity as a result. However, low specialization allows for more flexibility, as employees can more easily tackle a broader array of tasks, as opposed to being specialized for a single task. Assembly lines are an example of job specialization environments, since productive activities are reduced to a very simple task performed by various individuals throughout the whole system. These workers are very specialized in what they do, since they only do one task. Formalization. Similar to specialization, formalization deals with how jobs are structured within an organization. The key differentiator here is that the formalization also takes into account the degree to which an employee's tasks and activities are governed by rules, procedures, and other mechanisms. A formal organization structure seeks to separate the individual from the role or position, as the role or position stays the same regardless who is holding it. An informal organization, on the other hand, places more value on the individual. It allows for the evolution of a role or position based on an individual's preferences, skill set, etc., and places less importance on what team or department that individual is part of. For example, McDonald's. McDonald's has a famously bureaucratic structure where employee jobs are highly formalized, with clear lines of communication and specific job description. This structure is an advantage for them because it allows McDonald's to produce a uniform product around the world at minimum cost. Next is departmentalization. Departmentalization refers to the process of grouping jobs together in order to coordinate common activities and tasks. If an organization has rigid departmentalization, each department or team is highly autonomous and there is little or no interaction between different teams. In contrast, loose departmentalization entails that teams have more freedom to interact and collaborate. For example, a manufacturing company may create a production department, sales and marketing department, and an accounting department in a human resources department. Next subtopic, we have functional structures. Functional structures. In an effort to organize teams, some companies opt for a functional organizational structure where decision making and operations run through functional departments with precise areas of specialization. A functional structure is a type of business structure that organizes a company into different departments based on areas of expertise. This department serves or departments these departments serves or serve as a functional units and are overseen by functional manager or department heads. In each department, team members report up the chain of command to department heads, who in turn report the company's top management, apprising them on the status of their functional areas. Examples of departments in a functional organizational structures include a sales department, a production department, a human resources department, an information technology department, a marketing department, and a legal department. In some large companies, these departments are stratified into different geographical areas. In smaller companies, they may simply occupy different areas of the same office building. Let's also talk about the characteristics of functional structures. Companies with a functional organizational structures tend to share the following characteristics. We have three key characteristics. First down is there's a top-down hierarchical structure. Most functionally structured companies have a senior management team that oversees the companies at large, but nearly all other employees are part of a specific or siloed department. So, example, in public health, the top-down approach in public health deals with the programs that are run by whole governments of intergovernmental organizations that aid in combating worldwide related problems such as HIV and smallpox. HIV control and smallpox eradication are two examples of top-down policies in the public health sphere. Next, department heads report to senior management. Each department a company, whether it's sales, product, or IT, has a department head who is either part of top management or directly reports to them. Last, employees specialize Employees specialize in certain tasks. Employees in functionally structured companies are hired for their expertise in a particular skill. They rarely stray outside of their role to help with the work of another department. There are also advantages and disadvantages of a functional structure. Let's start with the advantages. There is three potential advantages of the functional structures. We have stable work environment, built for organizational efficiency, taps into people's strength. So stable work environment, a functional organizational structure offers a stable environment where employees can clearly understand the scope of their work and what is expected to them. Built for organizational efficiency, large companies often favor functional structures because each department can hum along independently, which leads to greater efficiency. A conflict in one department will not necessarily lead to a bottleneck throughout the company. Third, taps into people's strengths. A functional structure places employees where they are needed most and does not burden them with tasks that push the limits of their skill set. Employees who work on projects that fall within their expertise often work more efficiently. Next, we also have disadvantages of a functional structures. Along with the upsides, employing a functional organizational structures can have several disadvantages. First, the potential for silos, meaning when employees work exclusively in one department or focus on one task, they can lose the context of company's broader goals. Employees may feel less invested in an overall business if they do not interact with members of other departments and understand how their work fuses together. Second, competition between departments. So, when departments are clearly defined and tasked with specific goals, there can be a risk of competing getting in the way of interdepartment collaboration. That's one. So, there's also a missed chance for innovation. So, sometimes the best way to generate ideas for new products, make new products, marketing campaigns, or supply chain models is to venture outside of a department's hive mind. When employees get siloed into specialized departments, they can miss the chance to glean wisdom from colleagues in a different sector of the company. Those are the potential advantages and disadvantages of e-functional structures. We also have six common types of organizational structures. Functional structure is just one of the common organizational structures used by modern corporations. Consider functional structures in the context of other common organizational templates. We have functional structures, divisional structures, matrix structures, team-based structures, and modular structures and network structures. Functional structures, meaning this type of business structure organizes a company into different departments based on areas of expertise. For example, lawyers work in legal department, marketers work in the marketing department. Divisional structure. In the hierarchical model of a division structure, a parent company owns various divisions or subsidiaries that function with a large degree of autonomy. The heads of these divisions sit atop their own brand's organizational chart, but they sit below senior management on the broader corporation's organizational chart. Under matrix structures, in a matrix organizational structure, project initiatives can be the purview of multiple teams. For instance, if a company is launching a new brand of cereal, Both the product team and the marketing team work together to get the cereal into the hands of customers. This type of structure often works well for small businesses, from whom department might include just one or two people. It also works well for a larger companies, provided that they have clear lines of communication so that the competing division do not impede one another's work. Under team-based structure, a team-based organizational structure has elements of both a functional structure and a matrix structure. In team-based structures, employees work on teams that serve specific organizational goals. Some teams focus on one task, such as product development. Others are cross-functional teams that work in many sectors of the overall business. Unlike other functional and matrix models, which tends to have a hierarchical structure with department heads and managers, team-based structures may feature employees with more equal status, while these teams may be guided by a project manager. Ideas often flow more freely without status of as a hindrance. This model fits the type of organization that values teamwork over nearly all other virtues, which makes it popular among startups. Modular structure. In a modular organizational structure, employees get divided into strategic business units, which possess areas of expertise. Most SBU or strategic business units are relatively small and nimble, which lets them easily bounce to different areas of need. Modular structures are popular in hospitals, where a surgeon or an anesthesiologist and a nurse may effectively function as their own SBU, hopping from patient to patient as necessary. This can improve operational efficiency, but it is less practical for steering an entire organization toward new shared goals. Network structure. This network organizational structure combines specialized departments, external division, and outsourcing. It de-emphasizes organizational hierarchy and prioritizes getting a job done, no matter who is involved. The aforementioned cereal company might have its own internal development division, an outside manufacturer that it shares with other food brands or marketing department it shares with a parent company, and a box making factory it hires on a contract basis. Network-based companies can work with great agility, but they may have less organizational unity and less emotional investment from employees. Next subtopic, we have market structures. This subtopic covers the type of markets such as perfect competition, monopoly, oligopoly, and monopolistic competition in which business firms operate. Basically, when we hear the word market, we think of a place where goods are being bought and sold. In economics, market is a place where buyers and sellers are exchanging goods and services with the following considerations such as types of goods and services being traded, the number and size of buyers and sellers in the market, and the degree to which information can flow freely. We have two types of market structures, the perfect or pure market and the imperfect market. Under the perfect market is a market situation which consists of a very large number of buyers and sellers offering a homogeneous product. Under such condition, no firm can affect the market price. Price is determined through the market demand and supply of the particular product, since no single buyer or seller has any control over the price. Perfect competition. Perfect competition is a market structure where many firms offer a homogeneous product because there is freedom of entry and exit and perfect information. Firms will make normal profits and prices will be kept low by competitive pressures. So we have here the characteristics of perfect competition. There are many more small firms. All producers of a good sell the same product. There are no barriers to enter the market. All consumers and producers have perfect information. Firms sell all they produce but they cannot set a price. So the short run analysis perfect competition, the firm objective is to produce the level of output that will maximize profit. Some inputs are variable and therefore fixed costs arise regardless whether the firm is operating or not. Since the firm is a price taker, it has no control on the price of a product. But the long run analysis of perfect or under a perfect competition market, all inputs and costs of production are variable. The firm can build most appropriate scale of plant to produce the optimum level of output. The imperfect market. In economic theory, imperfect competition is a type of market structure showing some but not all features of competitive markets. Form, uh, the forms of imperfect competition include the monopoly, oligopoly, and monopolistic competition. What is monopoly? Monopoly comes from a Greek word monos, which means one, and polein, which means sell. There is only one seller of goods or services. A monopoly should be um, distinguished from a cartel. So, cartel refers to a market situation in which firms agree to operate with one another to behave as they were a single firm and thus eliminate competitive behavior among them. Sources of monopoly. There is one producer or seller of goods and one and only one provider of services in the market. New firms find extreme difficulty in entering the market. The existing monopolist is considered giant in its field or industry. There are no available substitute goods or services so that it considered unique. It controls the total supply of raw materials in the industry and has no control over price. It owns a patent or copyright. Its operation its operations are under economies of scale. Classifications of monopoly. Monopolies are classified according to circumstances they arise from. That is, cost, structure of the industry, possibly the result of the law, or by other means. First one is the natural monopoly. Natural monopoly is a market situation where is a single firm can supply the entire market due to the fundamental cost structure of the industry. For example, um, an example of a natural monopoly is a tap water. It makes sense to have just one company providing a network of water pipes and sewers because there are very high capital costs involved in setting up a national network of pipes and sewage systems. Legal monopoly. A legal monopoly, a form of monopoly which the government grants a private individual or firm over the product or services. Many states or cities have laws or regulations that allow household a choice of only one electric company, one water company, and one company to pick up the garbage. Most legal monopolies are considered utilities, products necessary for everyday life that are socially beneficial to have. Next, the coercive monopoly is a form of monopoly whose existence as the sole producer and distributor of goods and services is by means of coercion, or legal or illegal. So that the most of the time so that most of the time it violates the principle of free market just to avoid competition. The short-run analysis of monopoly: a monopoly is considered a price maker, since he is the sole seller of a product that has no close substitute in the market. While the long-run analysis of monopoly: in the long run, all inputs and costs are variable, and monopolists can make the optimal scale of plant to make the best level of output. Next, oligopoly. This comes from the Greek word oligo, which means few, and polein means sell. A small number of sellers, each aware of the action of others. All decisions depend on how the firms behave in relation to each other. The decision of one firm influences, and the decisions are influenced by the decision of other firms in the market. Characteristics of an oligopoly: there are small number of firms in the market selling differentiated or identical products. The firm has control over price because of the small number of firms providing the entire supply of a certain product. There is an extreme difficulty for new competitors to enter the market. These are the types of oligopoly. The first one is the pure or perfect oligopoly. If the firms produce homogeneous products, for example, cement, steel, aluminum, and chemical producing industry, approach pure oligopoly. Imperfect or differentiated oligopoly: if the firms produce differentiated products. For example, passenger cars, cigarettes, or soft drinks. The goods produced by different firms have their own distinguishing characteristics, yet all of them are closely substitute of each other. Collusive oligopoly: if the firms cooperate with each other in determining price or output, or both. The OPEC, or the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, is an example of such type of collusion. Next, the non-collusive oligopoly: if firms in an oligopoly market compete with each other. For example, in providing internet and telecommunication services, there is a cutthroat competition among the rival firms. We also have types of organization of oligopoly. Cartel. Cartel is a formal agreement among oligopolies to set up a monopoly price, allocate output, and share profit among members. Some examples of cartel include the OPEC, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, an oil cartel whose member
whose members control 44% of the global oil production and 81.5% of the world's oil reserves. Next, collusion is a formal or an informal agreement among oligopolies to adopt policies that will restrict or reduce the level of competition in the market. Collusion occurs in different forms across various markets. For example, price fixing is a type of collusion that happens when two oligopolies companies. In an oligopoly, no single firm enjoys a offered the same product in a particular marketplace but agree to set specific pricing for their commodities. Next, monopolistic competition. Market situation in which there are many sellers producing highly differentiated products. Monopolistic competition is also perfect competition plus product differentiation. So product differentiation gives each monopolistic competitor some market power since each competitor can raise price silently or um, slightly without losing all its customers. For example, hair salons, restaurant, clothing, and consumer electronics are all examples of industries with monopolistic competition. Each company offers products that are similar to others in the same industry. However, they can distinguish themselves through marketing and branding. We also have characteristics of monopolistic competition. A large number of buyers and sellers in a given market act independently. There is a limited control of price because of product differentiation. Sellers offer differentiated products or similar but not identical products. New firms can enter the market easily. However, there is a greater competition in the sense that new firms have to offer better features of their products. Economic rivalry centers not only upon price but also upon product variation and product promotion. Next, monopsony. A market situation in which there is only one buyer of goods and services in the market. It is sometimes considered analogous to monopoly in which there is only one seller of goods and services in the market. Monopsony power gives them the ability to control their unit cost for an input which is similar the way the monopoly control their price. Some examples that have been given of monopsonies include major employers in a small town, universal health care, and the post office. Some very popular companies such as Walmart, Microsoft, and Google have also been called monopsonies. Oligopsony, a market situation where there are a small number of buyers. This is usually with a small number of firms competing to obtain the factors of production. Under this market situation, firms are buyers and not sellers. This is sometimes analogous to oligopoly, where there are few sellers. As an example, the fast food industry is a good example of an oligopoly. A small number of large buyers, including McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, buy a huge number of meat produced by American ranchers. That gives the industry the ability to dictate the price they are willing to pay. As we can see on the screen, the summary of different market structures. The column 1 is the market characteristics. The column 2 perfect competition, column 3, monopolistic competition, 4, oligopoly, 5, monopoly. So, um, when it comes to product differentiation, um, perfect competition, no. Monopolistic competition, yes. Oligopoly, yes, but less. So if oligopoly supply raw materials, monopoly, yes. Under price competition, intense must meet price of other firms. Monopolistic competition, intense, occasional but cooperative behavior often present in oligopoly. Then monopoly, occasional with the producers of substitute goods and services. Price of natural monopolies is subject to regulation. Then price competition, advertising under perfect competition, no. Under monopolistic competition, intense. Oligopoly, intense. Monopoly, often to promote public um, goodwill. About barrier to entry. So perfect competition, there is no barrier to entry. Monopolistic competition, low. Oligopoly, of course, yes. Monopoly, yes. Information costs, under perfect competition, no. Monopolistic competition, low. Oligopoly, high. And monopoly, high. Opportunities to earn and keep economic profits, under perfect competition, no. Monopolistic competition, few. Oligopoly, many. Monopoly, many. The open, regulated. Number of sellers, under perfect competition, there is a large number of sellers. Under monopolistic competition, numerous buyer and sellers. Under oligopoly, small number of firms, and monopoly, only one seller. About the degree of control over price, perfect competition, under perfect competition, price taker. Monopolistic competition, limited control. Oligopoly has control over price. And monopoly, price dictator. Market characteristics. Um, the type of product, homogeneous product in the perfect competition. In the monopolistic competition, differentiated products or similar but not identical. Oligopoly, differentiated or identical products. And monopoly is highly standardized. So, last, the matrix organization. What is a matrix organization and how does it work? A matrix organization is a company's structure where teams report to multiple leaders. The matrix design keeps open communication between teams and can help companies create more innovative products and services. Using this structure prevents them from needing to realign every time a new product begins. How can you empower teams to move quickly on complex projects without getting bogged down by stakeholders' review and approvals? Organizational structures may be the answer. Most work environments have chain of commands in place so that everyone has clarity around decision-making authority. A hierarchical organizational chart has the chief executive officer at the top. The chief operating officer and the chief financial officer are right below them. The department managers then branch off from the top leadership roles, with project managers branching off from there. The matrix organization differs from this classic structure since team members report to both a project manager and department head. In the guide below, we'll discuss what a matrix organization is and how can um, use one of the complex project. A matrix organization is a work structure where team members report to multiple leaders. In a matrix organization, team members report to project managers. So how do matrix organization work? So matrix organization have two or more management reporting structures. While this may seem confusing at first, team members typically have a primary manager for their department. Reporting to a department manager functions similarly to a traditional work structure. For example, team members working in IT report to the IT department head. The IT department head reports to the vice president of their division. Eventually, all reporting relationships leads to the CEO. The difference in matrix structures that team members also report to the project managers. Uh, Projects often require work from members of various departments like IT, marketing, and finance, which is why um, having a separate manager for individual project makes sense. So types of matrix management, as we can see on the screen, there are three types of matrix management, with each type giving more or less authority to the project manager. You can visualize these management types on a scale with the project manager on one end and the department manager on the other. So weak matrix. Under weak matrix, the project manager has the least amount of decision-making power compared to the other matrix management types. When the project manager has limited authority over the project, the matrix becomes weak because of the project budget and timelines is in the hands of the department head. Creating a communication plan can keep communication from getting lost in a weak matrix. Next, balance matrix. In a balanced matrix, the department head and the project manager have equal authority, and the team members report both of them. This keeps communication open between everyone in leadership roles and allows the project to move forward smoothly. Last, the strong matrix. In a strong matrix, the project management or the project manager has most of the decision-making power over the project, while the department head has more limited authority. This creates a strong organizational structure because of the project manager has full ownership over the project. The department head can oversee the project but does not make key decisions. Let's also talk about the advantages and disadvantages of matrix organization. The matrix organizational structure is more complex than the hierarchical structure, but it has many advantages. Some advantages of the matrix design include clear project objectives, and efficient use of resources, free-flowing information, and training for project managers. So, clear project objectives. The matrix organization design can ensure greater clarity of project objectives. When when your work team reports their progress to both the project manager and the department head, solidifying project goals is critical. When the project manager feels supported by other members of senior management, the project organization becomes a priority. Let's say your team. Scenario. Let's say your team is working on an app development project. Because you are using a matrix structure, the IT developers report to you as the project manager and the IT department head. The project objective is to create a keyword search app for marketers to use on the go. When the IT department head and the manager communicate a clear project objective to the IT developers, the app gets developed quicker. Next advantage is the efficient use of resources. The matrix structures allows for an efficient use of resources because teams include specialists from various departments. This reduces overhead costs and the amount of time needed to complete a project. In a hierarchical structure where every team reports to only one manager, there are fewer managers per team. These teams may require more time to create one project deliverable because they don't have members with different specialties. Scenario: the team creating the keyword search app may involve specialists from the IT department, the finance department, and the marketing department. When these teams members successfully report to their department heads and their project manager, they increase team productivity, save time, and get the project done more efficiently. The matrix team reduces costs because without a combined group of specialists, companies would have to restructure teams and potentially hire new teams members every time a new product or service is developed. One more advantage is the free-flowing information. Working in a matrix structure creates a free-flowing information between teams because the team reports to multiple leaders, while team members must remember to relay information in a hierarchical system. The matrix makes information flow a requirement. Reporting information to multiple leaders may seem tedious, but with the right project management system in place, it requires little or no extra work from team members. The scenario: if the development team on the keyword research app only reported to the project manager, information about a bug fix could get lost. However, relaying information to the IT department head is easy to remember when it's part of the matrix process. So, training for project managers. The unique structure of the matrix organization gives project managers a large amount of responsibility. Project managers must lead their team through the project life cycle. This structure challenges project manager and trains those who want to be cross-functional managers in other departments. The scenario: during this project, your team encounters some bug fixes and a delay in the project timeline. As the project manager, it is your responsibility to work with the IT department head to successfully handle all issues. In doing so, you discover a personal interest in IT and a potential career opportunity in the future. In addition, the retention of teams. So, team retention, the Matrix organization is a great track record from team member retention because when specialists are placed together, the product team stays strong. These team members work under the functional department heads and are then assigned to the project managers. Specialists often enjoy working together and can improve project performance. The scenario: during the keyword search application project, the project team consists of various IT, marketing, and finance specialists because these team members understand the ins and outs of creating an application for phone users. This team of specialists will likely stick together to work on many projects in the future. Next, the disadvantages of matrix organization. Like the hierarchical reporting structure, the matrix organization also has disadvantages. Most of the disadvantages stem from this structure being complex. While complex designs can have benefits when they work, they also have the potential to cause conflict and make things messy. The first one is complex reporting style. The complexity of the matrix organization can be a disadvantage because teams may have trouble knowing who to report to and when. While the intention of the matrix is to benefit teams, it may complicate teams, it may complicate projects and muddy the overall process. But we can have the solution. The best way to prevent a reporting failure is to ensure every member of the matrix understands who to report to and how to do so. Using an intuitive management platform that facilitates cross-team work can make the matrix structure less complex. Next, slow response time. The complexity of the matrix can lead to slow response times, which can delay projects. Slow response times can come from the need to report information to multiple people. Having more people involved is a good thing, but the downside is that relaying information to more people takes time. So the solution there is that using a project management system, this will solve the issue of slow response time with the matrix structure as a central source of truth. So this can prevent duplicate work and increase visibility among teams and leadership. Third one is conflicting guidance. Conflicting guidance occurs if the project manager and department head are not on the same page. While the matrix structure is meant to encourage teamwork, it may do the opposite depending on the personalities involved. The solution there is to prevent conflicting guidance, to establish a system that allows managers to interact directly with one another. Team members can avoid feeling like they are caught in the middle if managers are aligned on the project goals and stay on the same page. Next, potential power struggles or potential friction. The main difference between the matrix and hierarchical structures that team members report to managers in a matrix structure. This makes the matrix organization more complex and puts more responsibility on the team members. Having two managers can give team members more feedback and guidance, but it can also result in friction. The solution is to prevent potential friction. It's essential for the department heads and the project managers to communicate. It should not be the team's role to choose between the managers when conflict occurs. Whether in person or the virtual systems, managers can prevent friction by setting clear project objectives from day one and working together to create a successful product. Lastly, under the disadvantages of matrix organization, it can be difficult for team members to juggle priorities in a matrix structure if managers don't work together. If the department head believes their work are most important and the project managers thinks the same, the team may have trouble determining which manager's guidance to prioritize. The solution there is when team members have trouble prioritizing tasks because of miscommunication among managers, it's up to the managers to discuss the tasks of the teams and determines what should be done first. Most issues that have the potential to arise from the matrix structure can be solved with strong collaboration, communication, and clarity across teams. So to improve the matrix structure with project management tools, using project management tools is the best way to make the matrix structure work well. With project management, the project manager and the department head can align around the project goals, plan, work together, and create a clear line of communication. And when these pieces are in place, team members have the clarity they need to work efficiently and achieve your project objectives. Thank you for listening. God bless us all.